What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Yamcast. We did promise you that there would be weeks and weeks of uninterrupted Yamcast, and then I got sick, and then we missed a Yamcast. So I'm so sorry about that. We're back again this week. This is Yamcast episode 80, and it is going to be a good one. Today we've got news from KTM, and then 2 bits of news from Harley. I guess you guys probably already know what those bits of news are from Harley, but we're going to talk about them anyways because we need to lay our own opinions down for all of you to nibble up and eat like little piranhas in a stream or something like that. And then we have, of course, our DM portion of the podcast. We have asked our Discord boys about their most hated motorcycles. We figured that we would kind of go a little thermonuclear today and go negative energy and see what do they not like in certain motorcycles, see if we agree, see if we disagree. I'm going to find that out. And then at the end of the podcast, we're going to be doing a dramatic reading of some of the most silly YouTube comments that we've gotten. YouTube comments, as many of you know, maybe you're down there right now typing away. They're crazy. For the most part, Spite and I try to stay away from them like radioactive waste. But every once in a while, we like to get in and just see what people are saying. And then rightfully so, we emerge from the depths and go, never again will I go back down there. So today we've got some choice ones curated by both the team and the Discord boys. And it's going to be a really good episode. Stick around. Let's do it. Alrighty, Spite, I think the first bit of news we should talk about is this new Harley-Davidson Nightster. What do you think?
All right, let's dive in with the Nightster news. So, obviously, the news is 975 Nightster. Here we go. They're saying that it replaces the iconic 883.
Quite a replacement.
Yeah. That still ain't no beginner Harley right there.
No.
Goddamn.
No, not at all.
If just on this title, real quick, the 883 was the closest thing they had to a beginner bike.
Yes.
Aside from the Sportster 1200, which is kind of funny. But the fact that they're like, 90 horsepower, 70 foot-pounds, sure, $13,000, go have at it.
Yeah, beginner bike. I think the 883 was an honest-to-God beginner bike.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when we had ours before we did the crazy swap on it. Honest-to-God beginner bike. Mm-hmm. It's never going to scare you, never get away from you. Let's look at the styling of the Nightster before we jump into specs and everything else. I got to say, personally, I told you this earlier, if I squint, I see Honda Rebel, dude. I mean, I'm not going to lie.
There is a lot about this that is the Honda Rebel. It's really apparent here when you look at it from the side. The way that the pipes come down and then back up, just like the can on the Rebel. Mm-hmm. The yoke here at the frame, it's very Rebel-esque. The Rebel was aping the Sportster, and now it seems the Sportster is aping the Rebel, aping the Sportster.
It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
But as many purists will point out, it's got a real V-twin, brother.
Yeah, so this has let's get some spectacles on this thing right here. So this is the 975cc version of the RevMax engine. So this motor is a little bit different. We'll get into the differences in a second. Mm-hmm. But 60-degree V-twin, they're claiming 88.5 brake horsepower, so 90 horsepower, and 70 foot-pounds of torque, which those are good numbers, not going to lie.
Not bad. I think those are just about the same as the Rebel, is it not? The Rebel 1100?
Rebel's I think the Rebel's 88 and 80.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it's like 80 and 80 or something really weird because the Africa Twin engine has like a perfectly flat torque and power curve.
Let me get this straight. We live in a world where a Harley is more of a rever than a Honda.
I know, right?
Things are getting topsy-turvy out there.
Yeah, so this revs out to it makes peak power at 7,500 RPM.
Yeah, I remember reading from a previous brief about it. I think it revs to about 9,500 to 10,000, mm-hmm. which is high for a Harley.
I mean, these RevMax engines, they rev all the way out. I remember when I was goofing around with the Sportster 1200 or 1250 in the Black Hills out in Sturgis. I was flying on that bike because it was really fun. The engine revs so far. It feels like a European engine. Mm-hmm. Doesn't feel American.
But it's kind of a compliment.
Then you look down and you're like, oh, this fucking Harley-Davidson. Awesome.
Yeah.
You know? So let's get into some tech on this. This is interesting because the 1250s, which are the They're the full Zoot version of this. The 975 is a derivation, a smaller derivation.
Mm-hmm.
And what they've done is they've taken away the variable valve timing on the exhaust valves.
Yep.
So they've got it on the intake valves, but then they're like, we wanted to save weight and cut price, so no VVT on exhaust.
Kind of weird, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
To have like half a VVT system, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the reason you can get rid of it is your exhaust valve. It's always easier to just like, it's harder to suck air in than push it out, right? So they can push a lot of air out, so they don't really need to change the valve timing. They've got all the exhaust cans on there.
Yeah.
The intake valve, that's where it's important to really give it some boost, some extra help to get the air in. So they've gotten rid of that, and they seem to have pared the tech package back a little bit based on what it says later on in the article here.
Yeah.
Where's the tech? Safety net. So we've got ABS and traction control. We've got toggleable modes and the drag torque slip control system, which is a fancy way of saying like slipper clutch.
Basically, yeah.
Although instead the drag torque slip control system, it's actually electronic.
Interesting.
It's not like a slipper clutch like you'd think. It actually will add revs to the engine.
Yeah.
If it senses slip, which I'm not sure why Harley decided to go that route, but whatever, it works. I've tested it.
Yeah. Now, big point about this Nightster is the fact that it is one of the first kind of sub 500-pound Sportster models. Yeah.
Yes. So this is the first Actually, I think it might be the first Harley period full stop in the modern era under 500 pounds.
I could see it.
The only other ones.
Is the Sportster S more than 500?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think the Sportster S is like 510 or something like that.
It's close, yeah.
But they really wanted to cut weight on this, and they were saying that they've dropped, I forget where it was in the article, but they went with like some seriously space age stuff.
Yeah, mostly in the engine, yeah, which is interesting to me because this frame is different from the Sportster S frame, right?
Same frame.
Oh, it's the same frame as the Sportster S.
Yeah, so if we pull up Sportster S.
That's smart.
Yeah, same frame.
It is. It's the same. Yeah.
So,
Sportster S just has a bit more panache about it and a bigger engine.
Yep.
So here's my question about this. You as a Harley guy maybe can answer me. We've got Sportster S. We've got Nightster, kind of a big bike, little bike, kind of doing a Ducati thing. Are they still going to make a air-cooled 1200 as a new bike, or are these replacing all the old Sportster 883s and 1200s? Because to me, it seems like they are.
They can't sell those in Europe anymore.
Yeah.
Basically. And the Harley lineup includes 2 air-cooled Sportsters, I think now. They 883 and one 1200. Maybe they still have the Fat Bob and the Iron, or not Fat Bob, the 48 and the Iron, but they're going to whittle that down. They're probably going to get rid of the 883 and just sell the 1200, and they'll just sell it here. But all things are going to move forward, and so eventually this is going to replace the old school Sportster line.
Yeah.
But this is the first of the new Harleys that still looks like an old Harley.
Yes.
You know, it really does look like an old Harley. They made a good point here. Where is it? It's in the tanking around section. This tank, they styled it after the old Peanuts tanks, the peanut and walnut tanks. But the air box is under it.
Yeah. And
normally when you have that, you have like a plastic case. They're like, no, it needs to feel real, so they made it out of steel. So it's a steel like case around it.
Kind of hilarious.
It's part of the reason why the bike weighs as much as it does, because they still they're like, no, it needs to have some steel in there.
I mean, Harley with this product is basically pulling a Triumph Bonneville, right? Like you're selling a motorcycle that has old school aesthetic but is decidedly modern underneath, right? Like
Yes.
the Bonneville does an amazing job of that, where it's a cool retro looking bike. It does not ride like a retro bike. It rides awesome. It rides really nice. The engine's just velvety, buttery smooth. And Harley's doing the same thing. I mean, you look at that dashboard, clean analog clock there. That has disappeared since then.
Yeah, I'm gonna find it again. Sorry, I'm trying to scroll in because I'm really familiar with the dash on the Sportster S, and I'm trying to. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, so you got that clean, simple analog clock right there. You know, not too dissimilar from the Rebel, to be honest. But
Yep.
yeah.
So looking at this, there's a couple of things that I'm seeing where corners have been cut, sort of, or I guess you would argue downgraded from Sportster S. First of all, that does not look like adjustable suspension.
Oh, God,
and
no.
later on in the article, they do say it's not adjustable. The only thing you have is preload. That's a bit of a bummer, seeing as Sportster S is 15 with fully adjustable suspension. Another thing I'm not seeing here, and they don't talk about it in the article, but based on this dash, it doesn't look like you have the adjustability in your rider modes, which that's a really cool feature on these new Harleys, is you can go in and change the way stuff works. Pan Am and Sportster both work the same way, where you can be like, all right, I want to base user mode 1 off of sport mode, but I want to use the comfort suspension, and I want this level of engine braking and this level of throttle response. That's really cool for a Harley to do, and it's a bit of a bummer we don't see that here. I understand why.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to cut corners. Now, the question is, did they cut them enough to save cash? And I think the answer is no.
No, this thing is going to retail at $13,499.
Yes.
I mean, that's, to me, it's a very hard pill to swallow, given that the Rebel 1100 is under 10K MSRP, if I remember correctly, or right around 10K.
It's right at 10K.
Right at 10K. So it's a $3,500 price premium to get a bike that has a smaller engine and doesn't have Honda reliability. It's a hard pill for me to swallow. And the other thing about the Nightster for me is it really feels like Harley is a day late and a dollar short, given that the Indian Scout has existed for the past 6 years.
Yes.
Again, it is hard sometimes rooting for Harley. I think they're making right moves in the right direction, but in a world where the Rebel 1100 exists, where the Scout exists, this kind of just feels like a Me Too entrant. You know, it's kind of like, oh, look, I did it too. You know, well, what do you think?
So I think that this is definitely a little bit Me Too-y. They're definitely just throwing their hat in the ring into this modern cruiser. This is a shot at the Scout for sure. This is Harley being like, no, you, Indian, go home. We run this. This is our class. Go away. It's hard though, because
one
the
in
Scout
three bikes
boys
sold
are
Harleys.
Yeah, but the Scout is entrenched now.
It is.
You know, and I think what is going to happen is because this looks like a proper Harley, you're going to get some of those salts who are riding those old bikes. They'll hop on this and they'll be like, whoa, that's what a real engine feels like.
Yeah.
Because this, I guarantee you, is going to feel so much faster than any CVO ever does.
Yeah.
And it will snap some people's heads back and be like, this is a Harley? God damn.
I mean, remember the Rebel 1100? That's what I said, where I was like, this is going to waffle stomp any Sportster, any Harley, like anything. It was so much faster than any of those bikes.
I mean, we ran it against the Sport Glide, the 107.
it was like
just,
a joke.
Yeah, it just disappeared.
Yeah.
So I do think they're making steps in the right direction. I do wish that we saw this out of a... First of all, I'd like to see this with all the stuff they removed, because I mean, look at this suspension. It's like 41 millimeter.
Yeah,
I think it's very
single disc brake. Not cool, Harley.
I mean, I'm sure it's pretty commensurate with the going power of this motorcycle. Harley does pair their brakes pretty well. This might be a Brembo caliper, just branded Harley.
Yeah,
because that's what a lot of the discs are. But I would like to see this motorcycle right around $11,000 with the lack of adjustability in the tech, the single disc, the no adjustability in the suspension.
I mean, to me, it feels and looks like an $11,000 motorcycle. I get it that the Harley badge adds a price premium, but when I'm looking at a Rebel, when I'm looking at a Scout, I don't get it,
Yeah, I do think this is an important thing that they're doing, though. They are returning to the adjustability and the modability of the Sportster. We've got the dual remote shocks back here, or the dual shock setup, so you can put your own shocks on there. They're putting back a little bit of customizability into the Sportster. Sportster S did not have that.
Yeah. One thing I want to point out is this bike also features a 19-inch, 16-inch setup.
Which is weird as
really peculiar. Going to make finding rubber for this bike kind of a challenge.
Yes.
When you have a 1990 section rear tire and a 16 150/80. What the hell? Why did you put such weird wheel sizes on it?
1917 at the least.
At the least, yeah. Dude, I feel like it should have just had 1717. Call it a day.
Yeah.
But I get it. The slightly larger front wheel is like the thing, looks they like the look of that, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, Harley-Davidson Nightster. An interesting entrant into the category, but it remains to be seen. We're going to have to ride it and find out.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag until I can ride it.
The fake breather is quite funny.
The fake breather is kind of funny.
Yeah.
But sticking with Harley and the 975, they have accidentally leaked the fact that 975 Pan Ams are coming.
Yes.
Which we already kind of figured.
Didn't seem like much of a shocker when this came out, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
So Harley-Davidson obviously has the 1250 engine they put in the Pan Am, the big boy, the $20,000 flagship bike, but in today's world, it makes all the sense in the world to try to get in on that sweet middleweight ADV category money.
Yep.
That's a huge market.
Huge market.
And one would argue that market is even tougher to come correct than the flagship one.
Yes.
The flagship one, I think, you can have a bike that has a ton of tech, a ton of power, all these crazy features. You can sell it for top dollar. Cool. The middleweight ones, they're much more price-conscious people. They're much more spec conscious. They're much more capability conscious as well. These are Tenere 700 people. These are KTM Duke 8 or KTM Adventure 890 people, right?
Yep.
So it looks like Harley's going to be making two variants of it, right?
Yes. So we've got if you don't understand Harley nomenclature, don't worry about it. Just all you need to know is that the first two letters or four letters denote model. So RA is Pan America. And they have 975 and 965S. S at the end means special.
That one's the most interesting to me.
Yeah. So here's my theory. And I was thinking about this when I heard of Further Faster. I was just throwing this out there. It's like 975 Pan Am with the 17-inch wheels. I bet you that's RA 975. RA 975 is probably going to be a sport touring, stripped back Pan America that's meant to just be adventure touring with an emphasis on touring.
Yes.
A lot like
Tiger 900 GT.
Yes,
Yeah,
Tiger
something
900
like that.
GT.
Yeah.
RA 965S, that's going to be your Duke 890 Adventure or your KTM 890 Adventure Tenere 700 competitor. That one will have your spoked wheels. That one will have some serious dirt.
You think it'll have a 21?
That's the question. If it comes with a 19, that's going to be rough. But the thing is Harley. The reason why I think they'll do this right and they'll price it right is because they were all in on Pan America. They did all their research on Pan America, committed to the bit so hard, and they came correct. I don't think there's a single big-ass ADV aside from the Super Adventure that runs a 21. I think they're all on 19s.
I believe you can get the BMW GS on a 21.
Really?
Don't quote me on that, but I'm almost positive you can.
Because I think most of them that you see in the wild are on 19s. And the Harley's on a 19. But they're spoked, because everybody knows you're just supposed to take it on fire roads. But there's the GS single-track people that are just insufferable.
Yes.
Then I think what they're going to do is they're actually going to look at this middleweight marketplace, and they're going to be like, all right, 88 horsepower, 70 foot-pounds of torque out of the Sportster. That's a good number for this crowd.
Yeah.
We need the weight to be way down. We need to chop the weight way down.
Way down. I mean, that's the thing I'm thinking of is like if they're going to use the Pan Am frame and just put a smaller engine in it, you're not going to get anywhere close. You're not going to get anywhere close because Touareg 660 T7, that's 450 pounds.
The thing is they can drop the ride height device. They can get rid of that. There's a lot of shit where they can svelte up the tail section. They can get rid of a lot of the technological bullshit like the suspension, the electronic suspension. That's real heavy.
Do you think aesthetically it'll look like a 1250 Pan Am, just smaller a little bit, like kind of leaner?
That would actually be really cool. I think
wonder,
that would be cool.
I think it'd be cool if they kind of did something a little different with it, kind of differentiated the model a little bit.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you look at Ducati before they axed the... no, they still make the 950 Multi, don't they?
Do they?
I think they do. I think they make the 950 Multi and more... I think it's more of a sport touring bike now. It's not like an adventure bike. But then they make the Ducati Multi V4... That's, the stupid, like, oh, look at me, I'm a 175 horsepower enduro bike. I'm like, sure, whatever. But, so I guess they still make a big little, I think Triumph's doing it too. Tiger 1200, Tiger 900.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess people are doing it, big bike, little bike. And the Tiger 900 and 1200 look pretty similar. So I bet you it would look pretty similar, honestly.
And there's a lot of features that they can axe on this Harley
Yes.
without people complaining. What I would like to see, I will bitch and moan about this if they don't have it though, is that rider adjustability. Because off-road mode and off-road plus, I have experience with both of them. They work so well on the Pan America. They work so well, and I love them. If this doesn't have that, I'm going to throw a fit. So, Harley, don't that up. You'll make me sad.
Man, what if, this is total, like, pie in the sky. What if they made, like, a totally stripped-back desert racer-style bike?
Hell yeah.
Like a Dakar kind of bike,
Hell yeah.
That would be cool, but I doubt that Harley's going to do that with all the tech they've invested in. They're not going to make a stripped-back bike. Yamaha made a stripped-back bike because they're like, we don't feel like investing in all this tech bullshit.
You'll have the CP2 and like it.
Yeah, you'll have the CP2. We'll change where the crank output is so that it's different for the swing arm. We'll do all the nerdy so that it works better off-road mechanically. We're not going to fix it electronically. Which is, fair. It's cool to make a mechanically good bike. But yeah, I think the thing we were talking about before we started this podcast is Harley is tantalizingly close to this Bronx.
They are so close.
Like, you give me a damn sport turning 975 Pan Am, just quit edging us, Harley. Just give us the Bronx, dude. Give us the Bronx. The worst part is we'll probably ride the Bronx and be like, yeah, it's a pretty good naked bike. It probably won't be this amazing thing, but we just want it to exist.
Yeah.
And I know they know because they made a bunch of them and because their comment sections are always riddled with people being like, Bronx when, ?
Yep. The guys I talk to at Harley, they get I can tell they get mad whenever I poke them about the Bronx. I'm always there just like, one of these times you're going to say something. You're going to be like one or too many beers deep. I'll just be like feeding you a couple of beers and you're going to let something slip.
Yeah.
But no, they won't. And I can tell they get a little just like,
yeah.
You're like, just stop. It's probably coming, but stop.
Yeah. Imagine a Bronx treatment with like a Z900 RS bubble fairing type of thing.
Yeah.
Like with the cool orange paint, harkens back to the VR 1000 or something.
Yeah.
Like there's so much to draw upon that would be so sick.
Yeah.
A flat tracker variant. It just writes itself. So again, we're not going to harp on the Bronx because we could sit here talking about it all day, but I love seeing the 975 coming out here. It's really cool. I can't wait to see what the S version of this middleweight adventure bike is going to be like. Hopefully a super hardcore adventure bike.
That would be something that I would go get.
Yeah, I think you'd be
it's
interested
available,
in it.
I could go get that.
Yeah. Got to be priced right, though. Can't be 17.5 or some bull.
No, this one, that like we said, you got to come real correct on this one.
It's a tough nut to crack on that one. But I think that's going to wrap up our Harley news. Let's move on to the last bit of news today.
This one's weird.
This one's a bit weird.
So
I did not know what to make of this when we first brought it up, but apparently Benelli's making copycat KTM Super Duke engines.
Yes. So this is This is a really weird story, and I didn't understand exactly what it was until I read the article, really. Because it looks like, China skirting them intellectual property laws again. Oh, darn.
Look at them go, yeah. What else is new?
Because just looking at that, I'm familiar enough
You can see it right there.
with the KTM engine that I'm like, yeah, that's the Super Duke.
Yeah.
And they've got this whole, garbledy-gook here, which is QJ. It stands for QJ Motors. 2V is 2-valve. 108 is the bore. It's the exact same bore as the Super Duke.
Yep. And then MYL is something else.
Yeah, that's just like, model stuff.
So let's bring it back a little bit for those who may not know. KTM has a bit of a partnership with is it CF Moto or QJ? Who is it with?
Okay, so CF Moto is a part of QJ, which is a part of, where is it?
That one group.
Yeah,
I forgot the name of the group.
Gleely Holding Group, which has Volvo, Polestar, Smart, and Lotus.
Okay.
All under their sphere of influence. So the KTM partnership goes that basically all of their parallel twins, the 890, the 790, and presumably the 990, which is now in testing, are made by CF Moto through QJ. So the 790 and 890 Dukes are Japanese or Chinese engines.
Yeah.
Which is odd because I always thought just KTM was the only ones they weren't making in Austria were the baby LC4s that get pumped out in India.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting business decision from KTM where it's like we will only produce the tippy top high end engines and our dirt bike engines. That's it.
Yep.
Everything else you can just outsource to some Chinese company that'll do it cheaper and faster, I guess, is the really thing there. I don't know if they'll do it better, but probably cheaper and faster is what they're looking for. And then we'll just make the frame and put the cool fancy graphics on it and sell it to orange simps,
Yeah, which makes me wonder. It's like, goddamn KTM, did you pull a fast one on me with the SMCR? Is that a Chinese engine inside of a fancy Austrian frame?
You've been loving that Chinese engine.
It's been doing real good. That's not the thing that's broken in there right now.
Yeah.
But so here's beyond just the fact that they're outsourcing a lot of their engine development or building to...
Yeah, it's building, because all the development, I think, is done by KTM.
Yeah, so all the building is done in China. The thing is they're just, licensing these engines to Benelli so that they can make their bikes with KTM engines in it. To the point where...
Kind of sweet, dude.
We've got Benellis and KTMs at TJ sitting on the same showroom, and I'm like, if it's the same engine... Do I just want to get the Benelli with the KTM engine in it that's got all the same parts that's way cheaper?
It will be way cheaper. The frame will be different, though.
It will be different. It won't be as lightweight.
And I will say the thought of a Leoncino 1300 sounds... That's no longer a little lion. That's a big lion.
Yeah. So they have... let's see here. They've got... some ideas that we're going to see these 1301 V-twins show up in other Benellis, basically. So they've got the Benelli 1200 GT. They've got inline fours that they're getting from MV Agusta, apparently, which is wild. Yeah,
they've got the triple cylinder engine bikes too that I think MV Agusta is working with them as well. I mean, it's starting to become such a soup of engines, that are getting kind of flown around and put in different bikes. It's almost like you want to stick with the Japanese brand because they made motor and frame. You know what I mean? These other brands, I mean, Triumph still does motor and frame themselves.
Yeah.
They assemble the bikes, I think, in Thailand, a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of the super high-end bikes they still make in Hinckley. But, I mean, this is really interesting from this side of the world. The Austrian connects with the Chinese and the Indians. I mean, it's getting to be quite a soup.
One thing that I will give Harley, going back to Harley, is they build their engines in America. At least the M8s, they're all built here.
Yeah.
They're all built fucking loose and... they leak oil and but
they're made here, baby.
They're made here, baby.
Yeah.
And that was a point of pride for me when I bought my street rod, because I looked at the code on it and I was like, this was made in Kansas. This whole bike was made in Kansas. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool.
And you know what? I think maybe 10 or 15 years ago, that argument would have been like, oh, why do you care if something is made in America and blah, blah, blah. But honestly, I think in the past 5 years, where we've seen the absolute hell that global supply chains can wreak once they're so interconnected globally, I think it's really cool to make stuff in the country that you live in.
Yeah.
It's better for workers because the wages will be higher. The only downside is that people will usually have to pay more for them, right? That's the big downside. And with wages the way they're going, people can't afford to. Like, if we made toilet paper in America, right? Like, it would be probably 3 times as expensive.
Yeah.
And most people would completely gawk at the price. And that's why a lot of stuff's gone overseas. But I think from a kind of like resilience strategy, we should make more stuff here in the States. And I don't know, maybe those damn Austrians should make their own damn engines in Austria, right? Like,
yeah.
You know, I think global trade definitely has its place, but for some things, it might be better off to be making it in the country you live in, especially if you have a feedback loop of actually giving people good wages and stuff. Not to get off on an economics tangent, as I'm wont to do, but yeah.
Plus, I mean, there's a point of pride in being like,
there's pride, yeah.
You know, BMW, a lot of those Beamers are like the S1000RR. That's German through and through.
Yeah.
And you're like, it has no soul, but it was made in Germany.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, if you want the quintessential German motorcycling experience, you get the S1000, or you get the R18, or you get the R1250 GS. Yeah. Because they're German. And if you want the Austrian experience, you get the Super Duke or some crazy, you know, whatever the KTM's got.
Yeah.
But now if it's like the engines are coming from somewhere else, they don't have that. There's a stigma against the Chinese engines, even though they've gotten a lot better.
They've gotten a ton better. But there's still that stigma where it's like, it's not Austrian. Is it going to be reliable? Yeah. You know? So, I don't know. I think it's teething pains. You know, like you look at the RC390s and stuff, those first couple of bikes that were
abysmal.
They were rough. They had a bunch of head gasket problems, reliability issues, oil leaks, all kinds of shit. Give it 5 years, bikes are great. Yeah. Work great. You know, maybe that's going to be the same thing with these Chinese engines. Then we'll just kind of like come to know and like them. You know, it's like, oh yeah, there's a Chinese bike, whatever. You know, I mean, there was people forget, but there was a time in this country where Japanese cars were considered junk. It's unthinkable now. Like most people want a Japanese car or a Japanese bike because you're like, that's quality and reliability and, you know, good price, right? I mean, things change. So yeah, I think all that kind of world talk aside, KTM building Chinese bikes or a Benelli 1301cc Super Duke engine may be good for motorcycling.
Who knows? I mean, if it means that you can get like 98% of Super Duke just for, you know, 70% the price, okay.
I like those figures.
That would work.
Yeah, that would work for me. But now, folks, we are going to move on to the DM portion of the podcast. Stick around. It is going to be good. Alrighty, folks, welcome to the DM portion of the podcast. You guys know the drill. If you want to join up on these, you got to head over to yamanoob.co, become a member, join on the Discord. We've got a lot of DMs already for this podcast. This week, we are talking your most hated motorcycle. What's a bike you hate the most? We don't normally like to spend time hating on things, but we thought it'd be fun to kind of switch it up a little bit. We'll start off with ourselves. Spike, what would you say is the bike you hate the most?
Oh man, it's not that I hate the bike, it's just that I hate the like cult of personality around it. Yeah. And it is the GS. Okay. I cannot stand the GS. Like if the GS just kind of blipped out of nowhere, yeah, it just disappeared, I'd be okay with it. Yeah. Because it's so pretendery now. Yeah. But don't get me wrong, there's some GS guys out there who are, you know, they're just like, yeah, I like my sport touring bike. But then there's a bunch of people that are like, no, it's hard enduro, long way around, you and a Charlie. And I'm like, fuck off. Yeah. What about you?
This is tough. I think currently, because I have the Holy Crusade going, I'm going to say the CBR 500R. Yep. I think it's heavy. I think it's overweight. It's boring as hell to ride. I really don't like that motorcycle. I don't like that Honda has the audacity to sell this beginner bike for like $7,600 or whatever.
Expensive.
When a Ninja 400 is like $3,000 less, and it's so much better and it's so much more fun. Yeah, I really, really don't like the CBR 500.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
Yeah, that was the first one I could think of. Because again, don't spend a whole lot of time thinking about bikes I hate. But let's go to the Discord and see what we got going.
First up, we got Alex Zuga.
Alex Zuga says, my most hated bike is the Yamaha Niken, the three-wheeled monstrosity. Why? Just look at the damn thing. It's ugly. Not only that, but it looks like a dude who constantly skips leg day. They took a perfectly good MT-09 and beat it with an ugly stick and made the thing damn near 600 pounds. I'm all for engineers doing crazy but that thing is a sin and it should be burned. I think a lot of people would think about that, about three-wheelers.
Yeah.
Just weird monstrosities.
The Niken's an odd aberration, though, because you get the three-wheeler because they're self-balancing. The Niken is not self-balancing.
Yeah, it's not self-balancing. Yeah.
So it's like, what is the point other than you get more edge grip?
Yeah.
And it runs 16-inch tires up front.
I didn't know that, really?
Yeah, it runs 16s.
Oh, weird.
Or maybe it's like 15s. They're really small.
Well, that's super cute. I didn't know that they were tiny wheels.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you look at something so different like the Niken and it causes a visceral reaction. You're like, oh, what is that? You know? I've only ever seen one in the wild.
Yeah, I've seen one on the road and then I've seen a couple in person.
Yeah.
And if you look up under its skirt, you're like, what the f***?
It's pretty wild. Yeah, pretty crazy. So Yamaha Niken, most hated by that guy.
Kialna is next.
Kialna, got a long stuff here, says, my most hated bike is honestly any overly loud or straight piped bike. I hate it so much. It makes me feel secondhand embarrassment or shame as a motorcyclist. I don't want to be associated with people that scream loud pipes save lives and have eBay exhaust without a baffle that can be heard across town. No, you're not cool. No, your bike doesn't sound awesome. Your bike sounds like an aggressive wet fart. Please spend money on a proper exhaust system. As for particular bike itself, the Hayabusa.
Oh no.
Ah! Truly, I can respect its existence and legacy, but its cult around it, the worship, and from my point of view, the horrible design aesthetics, even stock, that make me go, I can't see the hype, I just can't. And it's like Rick and Morty, it's the culty fans around it that make me dislike it and stay away from it. Would I ride it if someone offered? Sure, same as with any other cruiser, but honestly, I'd rather see a Bee King. At least it doesn't look like Bear Grylls stung by bees. Strong words about the Hayabusa.
Yeah.
Most hate. I totally get the straight pipe bike thing. Hate that.
Yeah, I can't stand it.
I can't stand that for street bikes. People with loud ass bikes. Even as a motorcyclist, I think it's disgusting. But to hate the Hayabusa,
I think it's just so. It's such a relic of its time. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's cool. Like it looks stupid as hell because it was designed to look stupid as hell.
Yeah,
it slips through the air. You know. It is very ugly, though. It took a long time for it to grow on me.
Yeah, but now that I've been around them for so long, I'm like, I could get a Gen 3 just for giggles.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very happy that I own a Turbo Gen 1. It's like one of the funniest things about my motorcycle collection at this point. I'm like, yeah, I've got a Turbo Hayabusa. I love telling people that.
Next up, we've got Lord Hater.
All right, Lord Hater. I hate the Harley Ultra Glide. It's gigantic with weak-ass suspension and somewhat underpowered engine. I really hate the CVOs, mainly because the riders, they're usually old, overweight guys that all try to tell you how to ride, even though never of them go past 65 miles an hour. I really think what gets me is the $30K price tag. It's coming from someone with two Harleys and a Ducati. If you tell one of these riders about how much better a Goldwing is, they simply dismiss you and say something along the lines of, that's not a cool bike though, and then a bunch of laughing faces and the irony. I mean that's been my big thing about Harleys. Even as I've tried to understand them and get with them, I just think like the big CVO crowd, $30,000 bike crowd, dumb as hell.
And see, here's the thing. I rode the ST, which is coming in at like 30 grand.
Yeah.
And it handles real good. They got it to handle really well. For what it is. Mm-hmm. You got to throw that little disclaimer on there. It does handle well. But god damn, it's expensive. And god damn, do I not want to go buy $30,000 worth of bagger.
No.
It's not my crowd.
No. I mean, for 30 G's, you can have a Turbo Hayabusa and 10 grand left over.
Mm-hmm. To fix it when it breaks.
Exactly. As an emergency fund.
Break in case of.
Yeah.
All right. So next up, we've got the Chanzen.
The Chanzen. I love all motorcycles, from the sketchiest stretched out FB bike to even Harley-Davidson streets. However, I hate Cake's entire lineup. I hate Cake's continued existence. They have the gall to sell a $300 milk crate on top of their overpriced bikes. I hope they are investigated for and convicted of financial crimes, and everyone that works for Cake is in an executive position stubs their toe, like really bad. Also, Damon. Honestly, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. We rode that Cake, and I was like, this is horse.
Yeah.
This is absolute horse.
With the Olin suspension and
mountain bike forks.
Yeah.
Like, you can't sell a motorcycle with mountain bike forks.
It was appalling.
Yeah.
Bad day on the Cake.
I didn't know they had a $300 milk crate. That's hilarious.
And it looks like an IKEA milk crate.
That's $300 for a basket with holes in it. You. Come
on. Next up we've got Bike Sportster.
Sportster. My most hated bike is definitely the Honda Shadow VLX 600 to be specific. LOL. Everyone does the same thing. Chop rear fender off plus spring solo seat, then calls it a bobber and posts it for sale for $4K. Super lame. I don't know anything about these bikes, but that does sound pretty lame. What do you think?
The VLX is basically what happens if you just have somebody who wants to have a Sportster that they can turn into a chopper. This is like an 80s styled Harley with the tail.
It does turn into a chopper pretty quick. We're seeing a bunch of chopper photos and bobber photos.
So this is just what happens to all of them. And the engine is pretty meh.
Yeah.
You know. So totally see that one. Next up, we've got Stank Nooner.
Stank Nooner, great name. My least favorite bike is the ones you guys keep giving to other people because you don't give them to me. Seriously, you guys need to fix this. That's quite funny. I wish I could give you one, man, but then that would be rigging a giveaway, and I'm pretty sure I'd get investigated by some sort of district attorney, and then you guys would never see me again. It would be so sad.
Yeah. Next up, we got Left Lane Lanny.
Left Lane Lanny. My most hated bike, I gotta say, any trike. If you ride one for health or age reasons, I get it, and I'm glad you still ride. But if not for those reasons, it's just a motorcycle that you give up the fun of leaning and mastering the physics. I just don't get them. Totally agree.
Yeah.
If you don't have to ride one, don't really get why you would, honestly. It's like all the bad parts of a car and a motorcycle together.
Yes.
I'm like, what's the point of this thing?
Yeah. I would take it one step further and be like the slingshot. Every slingshot needs to be put in a volcano.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Those things are ridiculous. We were driving the other day. It was me and my fiance, and I pointed out a slingshot. And I was like, oh, look at that thing. And she's like, oh, that's so weird, right? I was like, yeah, I know. I was like, it's classified as a motorcycle. She's like, really? I'm like, it's got a belt.
It's a V6 Pontiac engine.
Yeah. It's got a belt to the rear wheel. So I guess that counts.
Next up, we got Kagamaisen.
Kagamaisen. My most hated motorcycle, Yamaha MT-07.
Damn.
I hate the way the headlight looks. It looks like a mechanical bug's head placed on a bike.
Must be the new one.
Brother, have you ridden one, though? You can't hate an MT-07.
Yeah, I mean, it's just fun.
They're very fun. I get the MT looks are very polarizing, though.
Yeah.
Very polarizing. I mean, I personally couldn't do it.
No, I couldn't own one.
I couldn't do it. I mean, I know they're great bikes, but they just look ridiculous.
I just get a KTM because at least then you're like, yeah, it looks like an alien, but it's meant to. You know?
Yeah, that's true.
Next up, we got Magic Toaster.
Here we go. Magic Toaster. The bike I hate the most has to be the Electric Cake. It was built by art students and a marketing team to push out that pretentious bike instead of having any engineers involved. Hipsters make vaporware, not motorcycles.
Another one for the cake.
Another one for the cake. Yeah, I do agree.
James the Tuono Tool.
James the 202. I hate the entire MT line of bikes. To me, the headlights look like aliens from Men in Black. It looks terrible. Hands down, one of the ugliest bikes in production. Again, it's very polarized, the MT bikes.
But you gotta ride them.
You gotta ride them.
Once you ride them, you're like, I can get with it.
Yeah. I remember the MT10. I was like, nope, it's phenomenal. And then you get off of it, you're like, my eyes.
Next up, we got Full Metal Corgi.
All right, here we go. Full Metal Corgi, my most hated motorcycle is my dad's 2019 Triumph Bonneville Speedmaster. I hate it because it's perfect. Comfort, perfect. Fueling, perfect. Handling, power, perfect. I wouldn't change a single thing, not even the exhaust. I can't describe how much this bike's perfection irks me. I want a mod. I want to tinker, but no, it's a cock tease of reliability and craftsmanship. I could buy this bike and be satisfied forever. I have cruised on it all day, and I can't think of a single more enjoyable experience. Don't get me wrong, it's not jealousy. There is just something about how damned great it is that rubs me the wrong way. I hate it because it's too good. I hate it because of its perfection. I also hate my Hayabusa because it pissed on oil on the garage floor. Or just to say, Energica sucks to make Magic Toaster cry. That is interesting. Bike that is so good that you don't like. I'm kind of like that with the S1000RR. I've ridden so many of them where I'm like, yeah, dude, it does everything super great, but it just doesn't, I don't know, it's too perfect in a way.
That was the VFR for me. It was like everything, it did everything great. And I was like, okay, I'm bored. It was too good. It is possible for a motorcycle to be too good.
Yes.
Vince 82 is next.
Vince 82, my most hated motorcycle, any chopper with no front brakes. Do I even need to explain why? Other than that, I wave at everything, even scooters. If far enough from town, I wave at bicycles. LOL. My favorite thing to do when I'm cycling is to give bikers the wave. They get so confused. Any chopper with no front brake. I think choppers are very easy to hate. I mean, the whole chopper craze thing in the mid-2000s was just... I mean, it defined that era, you know? Like, it was disgusting.
I think the old school style choppers from, like, the 70s, 80s, where they were taking the UJM choppers, those are really cool.
Yeah, the UJM
Some
choppers
of the
cool.
Original Harley choppers are cool, just because I can appreciate the style and what went into them. The freaking LA choppers where it's, like, 19 feet long and stuff, no.
I can't get with it.
They're just so ugly.
If I can just point out really quick and put him on blast, I don't know if he'll see it. I can't remember if he watches it. Chris from Eurocycle, because he's a little bit older than us, actually owned, in the time period that it happened, a big-ass chopper in, like, the mid-2000s.
Like one of the Orange County choppers?
Yeah, like an Orange County, like some $70,000, like, like abomination.
Oh.
And I remember I pressed him on it. I was like, how much did you sell it for? He's like, I don't want to talk about it. I was like, hey, you lost your shirt on it. That's okay. You deserve it for buying that. I'm sorry, Chris.
I think everybody who got one lost their shirt on it.
Oh, for sure. I mean, they sell nowadays for like $4 or $5 grand, $8 grand, OBO. You know what I mean? Like, nobody wants those things.
And everybody tries to sell. It's like, this was made by the Tuttles. And
yeah, they're like, who gives a
yeah. The show is not even in syndication anymore.
Yeah.
Entrav RT Hemi.
All right, Entrav RT Hemi. I was told to DM this. A bone stock 883 because my ass on the Ninja 400 is 15 to 20 pounds lighter than an 883 without fluids and has just as much horsepower. And I feel like the weight and torque even themselves out because Shadow 750 we have feels similar in the torque department as a Ninja. Could be wrong. I haven't been on the Shadow in a bit. Yeah, stock 883, not a good bike.
No.
I mean, that was rough whenever we had ours. I was like, dude, this is a bad motorcycle.
The problem with the Sportster, the 883 in particular, is I don't want to say it's designed to be a bad bike, but it's designed to be a blank canvas.
Yeah. Upon
which you can build your Sportster. Mm-hmm. I can get with that, but not at $10,000, Harley-Davidson.
Yeah.
I mean, that is an abhorrent amount of money for a bike that mediocre.
Yes.
So, I totally see the 883 hate. But once you put the 1275 kit on, some shocks. Fucking awesome.
It's pretty sweet.
Pizza
Guy says, first time here, hope I'm doing this right for the DM portion of the Yamcast, but the only bot I can really hate is the one I've owned, which is the Boulevard S40. I can't hate a bike I don't own or haven't ridden. Not true.
Yes.
Not true. You can do whatever you want. Don't let your memes be dreams. It can be a pain when I'm trying to work on it and it isn't in the best condition, but I also gotta love it because it's the only bike I have and I just can't afford another one. I mean, S40 Boulevard, also not awesome.
Yeah.
We were talking about that earlier.
Yeah, the S40 is it's a pretty bad motorcycle, all things considered. Comes with a drum brake in the rear.
Yes.
Which, that's rough.
Vintage. Timeless, one could even say.
And a KLR 650 engine. In a bike that I think is as heavy as the KLR.
I could see that, yeah.
Because it's just made out of steel.
Yep.
Millennial Malaise is next. Jesus Christ.
Okay, here we go. Why have you written so much? All right. The longer I've been in the motorcycling community, the more I realize that I don't hate certain bikes so much as the kind of people they attract. In my humble opinion, the worst bikes are Ducati Special Editions, Harley Baggers, and anything with the Kawasaki 650 in it. A bike like a Ducati Special Edition attracts not only a buyer of certain discernment, but one that is so desperate to display the superiority that they are prepared to spend upwards of $10,000 over the already exorbitant price of a standard model. $10,000 is indeed a small price to pay for a few carbon fiber bits and anodized bolts to be able to signal to the world that you have the nuanced opinions on La Pavoni lever press espresso machines and demand to be taken seriously. Harley's baggers also attract people who demand that they are taken seriously, but frequently from the opposite end of the hygiene spectrum. Complete with personalities directly derived from the archetypes of Sons of Anarchy characters, these 1%er wannabes deride and chastise anyone that rides a bike that is less than 600 pounds. Lastly, the Kawasaki 650, the icon of the just as good crowd. High on copium and frequently overheard talking about their Honda minivans, these riders firmly believe that the Kawasaki 650 Twin represents the zenith of motorcycling development and nobody should need or even desire anything more. While the bikes are perfectly serviceable, it's their khaki-loving riders that put the bikes up on the top of the hate list. Thank you, Millennial Malaise, for a seriously good prose of an entrant there. Hate the rider, not the bike. What do you think?
Totally agree. Part of the reason why I hate the R1250. When I was riding it, was like, yeah, this is fun. But then I crashed it, and I was like, this is really heavy. But really, I a lot of the vitriol that I see is just from riders who are like, no, my bike's the best because I bought it.
Yeah.
And I don't make mistakes, you know?
Yeah.
They're just so hard in the paint on their bike.
Yeah.
It's just like, nah, dude, it's a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Chill.
I just think there's so many people that for some reason, certain types of bikes, and I really think the Kawi 650 bikes, they just attract these people that become entrenched. They become very entrenched in their opinions, and they're just like, no, I bought this right bike. You don't know what you're talking about, and blah, blah, blah. It seems like other bike riders, like, I don't know, like people who own Trail 125s, you know? It's like they take themselves way less seriously. You know what I mean?
It's the Chad meme. Our bike sucks. We know.
Yeah. Like, you got to just take yourself not so seriously, whatever bike you own. It doesn't really matter all that much. And if you're buying a bike to just have a personality, please go buy a mirror. You need to self-reflect.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Next up, we have N. Harvey 17.
Okay, another big one. The motorcycles I hate the most between the GSX 250 and the CBR 500, besides the fact that one is underpowered and the other is a misled more CCs, more power. We all know the bigger the CC, the smaller the PP. I dislike both for what they stand for in the spots as beginner bikes. Therefore, uneducated buyer that just wants to get in and not do their research. The Gixxer is portrayed with this, you don't need as much power, but this is a refined bike, and that's what matters in the beginning. The CBR is kind of like the Gixxer 750, in my opinion. In the sense that no one makes a 500cc engine. With it putting out of almost about the same as the Ninja 400, it puts Honda in a position where you have a beginner bike on the lower horsepower end and another on the high horsepower end of the beginner bike spectrum. The CBR 300, from what I've heard in my riding buddies, it is way more fun due to the torque. CBR 300 is the equivalent of a baby room painted baby blue or pink. It's nice and fun, but you grow up after a while. The CBR 500 is like a living room painted eggshell, boring, no excitement, and no end in sight. A good analysis there, I would say. Fair, totally fair. I would personally take the CBR 300 over the CBR 500.
Oh, yeah. One thing that I don't agree with is this Gixxer is portrayed as you don't need much, but this is a refined bike, and that is what matters in the beginning. It is not refined.
No.
It is a just giant piece of garbage.
Yeah, that was Suzuki really just pulling out the Me Too type of thing and being like, we can jump into this market too. We got a bike we sell in Asia that we can totally sell over here in the States for no apparent reason. I
also think the 750, the Gixxer 750, it has such a storied history
Yeah.
that it does make sense that Suzuki's just like, whatever, we'll still sell it.
Yeah.
Because it's still a really good bike.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
it
want to
won
ride one so bad.
many championships. You know,
Yeah.
it was a legend. The CBR 500R is just, it's like you said, it's an empty living room painted eggshell.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah, both of those easy to hate. Matthew up next.
Matthew finally did not write us a Bible. I'm sorry. My most hated motorcycle is the 50cc two-stroke conversion bicycle, aka DUI cycles.
Liquor cycles.
The liquor cycles. I kind of see it. You know, I could see it being like the only reason you're on motorized two wheels is because you lost your license. You know, You're probably a degenerate.
But there is something to be said for goofy 50cc pit bikes.
Yep.
I mean, they can be really fun.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I people don't want to admit it, but scooters are sweet.
Yeah,
They're lightweight, fun, bop around, cool.
Little column A, little column B. You can love and loathe something at the same time.
Yeah. But we will say your scooter needs to be two-stroke.
Yeah. Kilroy is next.
All right, Kilroy here. My most hated motorcycle is the MT-07.
Again with the
Another
MT-07.
one. Don't get me wrong, it's a good bike, but there's just so much about it that is overplayed when it comes to naked bike. The fact that everyone is always talking it up is just one part of it. Personally, I like bikes that have power, but don't feel so abrupt when accelerating or going into coast. Whenever I've ridden an MT-07, it's always felt jerky and abrupt. The fact that a bike that's so janky feeling is so universally celebrated actually does my head in. Also, the fact that the headlight looks like Invader Zim had a baby with a water buffalo. Kind of similar opinion to Spite's the GS. It's just as much as the people as it is around the bike itself. Yeah, I mean, the MT-07 was super popular. So many people bought them. You'll see them everywhere.
Yeah. It's like Civic SIs. People who like built Civic SIs and they're like, it's so great.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just a Civic.
You're like, it's fine, you know. And I think that's the thing about the MT-07. Like, it's totally fine. It's a good bike, totally fine. I really think that one of the reasons why people love it so much, I mean, that engine is just so peppy and fun. You know, it's a good motor in that bike.
But the rest of the bike is real janky.
It's not great, yeah, but it makes up for it with the engine for sure.
Yeah, because it's so playful.
Because you slap an exhaust on it and then get in a second gear and just go, whee! It's perfect. It's really fun for that.
Next up, we've got Goon Blaster.
Goon Blaster, the ungodly loud Harleys, punching me in the ears from the next zip code. Sport bikes aren't great, but at least it's a consistent sound. Yeah, I really hate super loud Harleys. I especially hate it whenever, I don't know for some reason, I don't know if you get this. For some reason here in Austin, in a lot of like the more walkable areas where people are like out and about and like trying to eat out and stuff, people on Harleys always want to just tear by there with like full gas. And I'm like, dude, I'm trying to like enjoy some froyo or like some food or whatever the I'm doing. I really don't want to hear some loud ass Harley blasting by me. Does that happen to you?
Yeah, I definitely also get, because they all sound the same. They all have a 45-degree crank pin, single crank pin, potato sound. So they all sound the same.
Yeah.
However, you can have a mix between noise and quality note. Mm-hmm. Like there's a V-Rod that drives by here a lot. Mm-hmm. I think that V-Rod sounds great.
Yeah.
I really like the sound of our Sportster when we had it. Just the exhaust. Yeah, it's loud, but, you know, whatever. It's fun. And as long as you just kind of can putter along, okay, fine.
Yeah.
But this, no. Because first of all, as an intelligent motorcyclist, you're wide open and you're probably going like 40 miles an hour.
Yeah.
You know? Whereas in something else, you're like, oh, you're wide open. You're going fast.
Yeah. Yeah, the exhaust sound thing is interesting. Every morning lately, I think somebody moved into my neighborhood where I live. Every morning when I leave, I see there's an MT-10 with the full pipe that always goes by me, and I'm always like, oh, that sounds so good. It's always so sweet.
Meanwhile, in my neighborhood, there's somebody on a Ninja 400 or a Z650, and I'm like, stop with your full pipe. Go away. I just hear it, and I'm like, no, dude.
I hear that MT-10, and I'm just like, oh, man, that's nice.
Such a good sound that bike makes.
Yeah.
Next up, Go for Joe.
Go for Joe. Most hated bike, anything Harley makes that isn't the Bronx. I'm tired of waiting. I just want to support the home team with the bike for me, not a bike for my father or grandfather. Totally agree.
Yep.
Totally agree. Yeah.
Last up is Biscotti Boy 620.
Biscotti Boy says, my most hated motorcycle is any bike made by Orange County Choppers. The show was terrible and the bikes are just ugly. Yeah, like we said earlier, mid-2000s Choppers. Oh my God, awful. Yeah. Awful creations.
I will say generally today, the most hated bikes, they landed a lot in Cruiser Town.
They landed a lot in Cruiser Town and weirdly enough in Yamaha MT Town.
Yeah. It's interesting to see what the crowd thinks about these motorcycles.
It's true. Yeah. I thought the MT bikes were beloved, but they are apparently quite hated by a lot of folks.
Yeah.
All right, folks, that's going to wrap up the DM portion of the podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. Remember to join on yamanoob.co. You can get access to the Discord server and watch these live and send us questions in as well, which is a ton of fun. We're now going to move on to the final section of the show. It's the YouTube comments section. Let's do it. What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Yami Noob. Today, we are taking a look at some of the most overly dramatic YouTube comments that we have received. We thought that this one would be a lot of fun to do because we get so many ridiculous things on YouTube.
Yeah, a lot of great comments.
And a lot of really silly stuff on YouTube. And this video is actually looking a little bit different for you guys because we were filming this live during the Yamcast. If you guys want to check that out, join over on the Discord server on yamanoob.co. It's actually going to be at the end of the Yamcast coming out tomorrow. You guys can check that out as well. But for today, let's get into these ridiculous YouTube comments.
Alrighty, so we're going to start off with a bunch of comments that I picked from some recent videos.
I'm excited.
Because I went through, and you wanted to be totally surprised.
I want to be totally surprised.
So I went through and I picked a handful, and then we've got a bunch that were curated by Whitney that were submitted by Discord boys.
Awesome.
So we're going to see, what my picks are and what their picks are for dramatic comments.
Yes.
So starting us off, we have this from the No Nonsense Beginner Bikes video here. Let me bust up the quality.
I can read it. It's okay.
Okay.
All right, so on the No Nonsense Beginner Bikes video, someone said, why does Yami hate the CBR 500? I'm genuinely curious considering I've thought about getting a bike someday, and that was an option. And then someone replied saying it was too boring for him, meaning too safe, haha. And then here we go, the comment that I think this really is a part of.
Yup.
This guy or girl says, I chose mine simply because it doesn't look like a beginner bike, sort of. To the untrained eye, it looks like a bigger bike, and it weighs the same as a CBR 650R. That's not a good thing. That's not a good thing, which I really want next. So the transition should be pretty smooth, having the same ergos. Plus, I didn't want to be a Ninja Boy or a Gixxer Boy or a Yami Noob, although I ended up going with the 500R because it has the widest tire out of all the beginner bike lineup, not like the bicycle tire on the 400. And yes, I'm pretentious like that. I don't give an F. Oh my God.
Choosing it because of the tire size is the mega level of spec sheet warrior.
Mega spec sheet warrior, but also mega smooth brain. The tire width at the rear has nothing to do with how much grip you're going to get. Nothing to do with it. The tire compound is going to give you, oh my God, that's dumb. Oh, you didn't watch any of our videos. I love how he's like, it weighs the same as a CBR 650. I'm like, that's bad.
That's real bad.
That's bad, because that bike has a 4-cylinder engine.
Makes almost 100 horsepower.
Yeah, way bad. That's great.
This
great
one
job.
Yeah. I knew I had to include. So there's a lot of these that are Bibles, but I like how this guy was like, I forgot to edit it, so I'm just going to reply to my own comment.
Love it. All right, so this guy on the No Nonsense Beginner Bikes video, I'd take a W800 over a 900cc Bonneville and the 1200 over both. Why? The W800 is a better bike to own. It comes with everything. Pillion grips, a center stand, luggage hooks. Do you do your own maintenance? Oil changes are done at the front. Center stand it, and you barely have to kneel to drop the old oil out. All boied? I don't know. All bolts, I don't know, or 10 or 12 mil, every last one. How about valve timing adjustment? Tank off, engine head off, and you're already there. That's it. You can do valve service in an hour. Try doing that on a 900 Bonneville. How about the air filter, side cover off? That's literally it, blah, blah, blah. Even a total novice can feel confidence about working on the W800. It's A2 compliant as well, where the Bonnie isn't. The W800 can teach a new rider literally everything they need to know about maintaining their bike, and the engine will always turn over. The transmission will always work. It'll last 150,000 Ks. It's dirt cheap, newer used, and it has Cowie's Ergo Pack. So if you're small, you can get the bike adjusted to your height. I love the Bonneville character, but the 900cc point, the W100 is a better bike to own all day. Replied, I forgot to mention where I live, the W100 is cheaper road tax and cheaper insurance as well, better gas mileage too. Ultimate spec sheet warrior stuff here.
Yeah.
I will say the W100 is an interesting bike because it's like an old bike made new.
Yes.
It's like a very authentic bike. To say that it's better than the 900cc Bonneville that they make brand new, no.
That's just a flat, inaccurate statement.
Absolutely inaccurate. Yeah. And for a lot of folks, they don't want to do all this crap on their bike.
No.
Nobody really wants to do all this stuff. And I thought for a second he was talking about the old 900cc Bonnevilles, and I was like, yeah, sure, get a W100, but not the new ones.
No.
Not the new ones, my man.
The new ones are so good.
Yeah, the new ones are really nice bikes.
Next up, we have one more off of the no-nonsense beginner bikes right here.
All right. First bike, every bike is exactly the same. Everyone acting like they are different is just uneducated. My first bike was a 1996 CBR 600 F3. Bought it on Craigslist for $250 in boxes. Put it together with no prior experience, only used videos from YouTube. Dude, this guy's such a badass. Took it on the first ride and she rode like a dream. Never drove a motorcycle or dirt bike in my life. It was so easy and honestly wish I had more power. Everyone is such a these days. Scared little after my first week riding, the chain snapped off and took my left leg clean off. What? Looking to upgrade to a 1000cc leader bike now. Let me know if anyone is willing to trade. What the Wait, so this guy lost a leg from the chain? Took my leg clean off.
I'm 90% sure this is like copy pasta.
Has to
but,
be.
But like, I could also see somebody being like, yeah, man, I just lost a leg. Yeah, that's just what happens.
Whatever, now I got a leader bike. If this isn't copy pasta, someone needs to turn it into one because this is hilarious. Every bike is exactly the same. Yes, a Turbo Hayabusa and a Gixxer 250. It's the same thing. They're all the same. They all have twist throttles and two wheels. They're all the same. Guys, close down the channel. There's no more videos to make.
It's
all
done.
the bikes are the same.
This dude figured it out.
He figured it out. Man, what a badass, dude. He built the bike himself, rode around, lost his leg, looking to upgrade for more power. Amazing. We'll never be like this guy, man. Love it.
Okay, now we move into the KLR review.
Oh, boy.
There was some good stuff on the KLR review.
All right, KLR review. That bike straight up sucks and need to be permanently parked in a soon-to-be covered-up hole in a landfill. Wow. You've got 3,000 miles on a bike you rode across the country and back. Do you think Texas is a country or something? No, you're pretty clear that you rode across the literal country.
Yeah, I went to Atlanta.
That's a different state. KLRs are trash. It's that simple. The bike comes stock with garbage suspension, a crap balancer chain adjuster lever, piston rings that allow the bike to burn oil once it reaches 5,000 RPMs, and a cooling system with no thermostat bypass, all of which, minus the laughable suspension, if you can even call it suspension, equals spend extra money having that trash fixed right off the bat, or kiss your grossly underpowered engine attached to an overweight pig of a bike goodbye. Nearly any other dual-purpose bike on the market is better than that turtly turd. I'd buy the new KLX 300 over that. Wow, I feel like a KLR 650 guy stole this guy's girl.
Yeah, I know.
For sure, man. Like, he is aggressive about the KLR.
Yeah.
So much vitriol.
I don't like. Clearly, he's done some research too, because I only mentioned that a little bit.
No, he knows about it. This is what I think happened. He had some girl he really loved. KLR Chad came through, stole it from him. He spent months on the computer researching why KLR sucked, and then he saw that you got a KLR. And he's like, no, KLR sucks. You, you'll never get it back. It has to be like who writes this about a motorcycle?
This one was like proper drama here.
Yeah, at least he's got both his legs, man.
That's like a small bar to clear.
Yeah.
Here we go. This one should be good.
Another on the KLR. You can't compare the KLR over the bikes you compared them to because you wait. Oh, I can't even read this.
This is the one that I found that had no punctuation.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, I'm just going to read every single word and try to understand it. You can't compare the KLR over the bikes you compared them to. You get the KLR because it's cheap and reliable. If you were to compare it to anything, it would be the DRZ, even though the killer is fuel injected this year and the DRZ is still not. They are not as rare as unicorns, obviously, because they're everywhere. It's just one of those things that's not going to change. They will most likely stay the same over the years to come, but the DRZ will eventually be feel injected one day. Oh, injected by the feels one day. Not a fanboy for the DRZ, just the only thing you could compare to. Oh my God, that was hard to read.
Dude, buy a punctuation point.
Dude, go to school. Just go back to, I don't know how old you are. Go back to where they teach you how to make sentences in like second grade or whatever the holy you didn't learn. Wow. So he's basically saying that the only thing you can compare to KLR to is a DRZ. And a DRZ is going to be fuel injected one day. Fat chance, first of all.
Yeah. You're banking on a different Suzuki than we are.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's hilarious.
I just what the period key. It's right here,
yeah,
dude.
it's right
it's
there.
right there.
At least put the periods in. You don't have to capitalize. Just break it up so we know what. Wow, that was hard to read.
All right, next up we've got this one. Here we go.
All right, in the KLR review, I proudly proclaim my 1% designation every time I go full send down a single track on a BMW R1250 GSA. It's okay, Yammy. We understand you have no clue how to ride the big BMW, yet middle-aged, complete noobs can figure it out. Maybe you just need more years under your belt to get this whole dad bike thing with a little tongue-out face. So it's probably said tongue-in-cheek, but I love the posturing that these guys do. And I said it in one of the videos where they're just like, I'm really big and tough, and I go down all these big, tough trails. I'm like, you probably rode it down a gravel road. Yeah. Let's be honest. I don't want to hear it, dude. Everybody over-exaggerates their stories. And I think the thing is, too, since these guys are older, as the years go on, the trails get gnarlier, the jumps get bigger, and then you're like, yeah, sure thing, whatever.
I've seen that gravel road in a different video, my friend.
Yeah. My favorite bit that I want to add really quick is I've actually, just for giggles, I've clicked on these guys' profiles from time to time, and sometimes they have videos where they're riding, and it is just like fire roads and forest roads, and they're all just like tumbling through. There was one guy that just got so butthurt on our Husky and KLR video, and I wanted to see on his profile, he's literally just like poodling around on like a little pit bike off-road, like going slow. I'm like, don't come to me telling me how to ride off-road when you're just like Miss Daisying through a little trail. Come on, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's the gatekeeping in the dirt world is just so off the charts.
Yeah. All right, try hard bikes. This is going to be great. Okay. Whoa there, Yammy. When it comes to the CBR 500R, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that little extra weight. I mean, sure, that might slow down the acceleration speed a tad bit when compared to an R3 Ninja 400, but it will make the freeway at 70 miles per hour more comfortable. Extra weight makes those road grooves to not feel so strong, and you can really put a price on comfort like that. No, you can't. That's not try hard at all. That's just big brain energy, my dude. Completely incorrect.
Yes.
The only time you start really noticing like that kind of sure-footed weight on a bike is when you're plus like 550 pounds. Yeah. Like the Ninja 400 feels great on the highway. It doesn't feel bad at all.
Yeah, this is just a sad CBR 500R guy who's butthurt because we have started the holy war.
Yep. It's copium.
And
copium. I think 2022 is the year we've pulled out all the stops and we're just trying to destroy all CBR 500R owners.
Maybe that's the new shop mule. We just get like a used one.
Honestly.
And then just do terrible, horrible things to it.
Honestly, I would not mind. They're kind of heavy though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
They're kind of heavy. We'll think about it.
They sound like ass.
They really do.
Next up, we've got this one. This one.
Oh no! All right, you didn't even blank him out. We got his username on there. Whatever.
My bad.
All right, this guy says 7 try-hard motorcycles, 675 Daytona, the wannabe R6, 210 V4, a bike that I don't even own. I'd like to point out it's a giveaway bike. It tries hard to be the better RSV4 for damn near the same price. It doesn't try to be an RSV4. It is an RSV4. It doesn't try to be one at all. It just has a handlebar. Pan America tries hard to be the GS minus the reliability, minus the comfort, minus the high mileage make. We know that he owns a GS now. We know that. Ducati Desert Sled. It tries hard to be the original R80 GS. Not really. The new KLR 650. It tries hard to be the better Tenere 700.
Not even close, dude.
Not trying to be a Tenere 700 at all. MV Agusta Brutale. Does he think we have one of those?
We did at one point. It
tries hard to be as good as the Ducati Street Fighter of the same price range. Harley Livewire tries hard to be half as good as Energica RS 21.5 kilowatt hour bikes for the same price. So this guy we must have put one of his bikes on the list because he just got a random melange of Yami new bikes that we own and also don't own. Like, we don't even have a Pan America in the shop.
Or a Livewire.
Yeah,
we just rode it once.
We rode it once. We're like, this is pretty cool. And he's like, no, you. Yeah, he real butthurt.
Yep.
I love whenever people on our list videos make like their own like little angry lists. So I'm like, congratulations, we won. You know, we did it. That's great.
This guy actually shows up a handful of times in the comment section.
Does he?
Always kind of salty.
Yeah, of course. My favorite are the salty comments like 30 minutes after a video's gone live, where I'm just like, you must be a super fan because the video just went live.
Yeah.
You know, like, why are you here? This just went live. All right, here we go. You mock the Versus while I hold in high regard. It is the closest I can to the amazing Yam TDM 850. Yamaha TDM 850. I'm not familiar with that one. A bike that did everything well, as the American press fell all over themselves trying to figure out what it was. Who cares? That bike worked everywhere. I put 100K miles on each of 3 TDM 850s and 27 track days. Hell, mine could swim. The TDM might make your last. The Versus is the closest I can find to my beloved TDM. Don't even suggest that Super Tenere. It was weak and conformist. Conformist. I'm going to look it up here on the old Surface if I can.
if it'll let you.
Yeah, Yamaha TDM 850. Well, I did 750, my bad. It's also totally not going to load.
Let me pull it up on the computer.
On the big boy. Yeah, pull it up on there because I cannot get it to load. A Yamaha TDM 850. I don't even know what bike that is.
I got clever with my spelling of Yamaha there, but still, Google figured it out.
It does kind of look like a Versus.
It really does. It's
What is this thing? It's like an ancient Versus.
Is it? No, it's a parallel twin. It's like yeah. This is just straight up a Super 10. Right? Okay, so the dude just bought a Super 10. It's an 850 Super 10.
Yeah. Feels like a little sport touring thing. You know, the stands for these just like normal little motorcycles are always so funny to me.
Yeah.
TDM 850.
And the Versus is the closest second to his heart.
Yeah, and I can't even suggest a Super Tenere because it was weak and conformist.
Okay. Whatever that means. This one, so it falls apart because it's a freaking diatribe, but it's just this old dude who gets real upset that we made a nerd bike list.
All right, here we go. The person who made this video hits my list as Nerd of the Year. What can be more nerdy than a nerd putting down other nerds? I want good gas mileage and large gas tanks, not to save money, but to go at least 400 kilometers without worrying about finding a gas station. I love to ride the back roads, paved, gravel, and dirt, where gas stations are far and few in between. You can use an auxiliary tank. Been riding for over 55 years and have no need for speed and torque. My DR650 has more than enough. Just to add a 20-liter gas tank, and the KTM 390 Adventure with the 3364 hard bags is great for shopping and weekend rides and can carry more than enough. After the first tune-up, it will be a get up and go when you wring its neck. Have no need for speed. Second time he's told this to us. but do feel the torque. I want to get up and go and not sit there spinning rubber. We'll be adding a CRF 300L to the stable, but setting it up for off-road with Dunlop D606 rear tire and upping the rear sprockets to 45 teeth. Should be a fun little bike.
He's already got the plan for his next bike.
And why is he telling us about it? I don't care. I'm going to keep going. Some of the roads I like to ride get pretty muddy and full of potholes and deep ruts in the spring. Will be often early start. My DR650 will do it, but I have a setup for long rides of mixed riding, so I'll have the Dunlop Trail Max Mission tires on it, as I do on the KTM 390 Adventure. No worry about sand on the road with these tires, and great on windy roads as well as gravel and dirt, but lacking a bit in mud and deep sand. Drop by, I will always up for a ride no matter what you ride. Yeah, totally fell apart. I'm not gonna clown this guy because he is a senior citizen, but it does look like he kind of lost the plot there in the middle.
Yep.
He's trying to make fun of us for the nerd bike stuff, and then just like treated this as his own personal journal entry.
Yeah,
very peculiar.
Also, freaking DR650 people. They're like the DR650 people have an axe to grind whenever we mention the KLR.
They do.
They pop up. I've noticed this. They crawl out of the woodwork and they're like, should have gotten a DR650. It's lighter and better.
You're just like, that's a dinosaur motorcycle. No thanks.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you.
So
man, I don't care about all the stuff you're doing with your bike, man. I'm sorry. Like, I just don't care at all. I don't know why you put that there, but good for you.
Last one, I went back in the annals here and found one off the Rebel Ride and Review.
Oh boy,
there were so many Rebel people in there. Holy cow, there were so many Rebel people that showed up.
The Rebel's been around. All right. Shows how wrong these opinion channels can be. They say it sucks, and all the comments say how awesome it is. If you don't have respect for what the Rebel 250 is, you're a moron. Misspelt with the your. That's irony at its finest. I've been riding for 45 years with 6 bikes in my garage. Because of this lame video, I'm going to add a Rebel to my collection. When I ride my little CR 250R, I have a smile on my face for the entire time. Look, if you watch the Rebel video, we clown on it because it's just like this dumb, derpy, small little bike. I said at the end where if you have like $600 and some pocket lint and you need a motorcycle, get a Rebel. It's going to be great. You had harsher words for it.
I hated it. It was a miserable experience, and I wanted to die the whole time.
Yeah, it wasn't a great bike, but I just think, like, to get so upset about the Rebel. Also, because you're going to go and spend money and add a Rebel to your collection. See if I care.
Just to spite us?
I don't care. You do whatever you want to do. I notice it's all these old timers that say these things, man. Like they all say how long they've been riding.
Yep.
As if it matters. As if I give a that you've been riding up and down the block for 20 years or whatever, dude. Like, doesn't matter to me.
Nope.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is an end to the ones that I have selected.
Okay.
Now we got the Discord guys. Yeah, so now we have the Discord boy comments that have been curated for us by Whitney here. And
all right, first one, just a guy says, all crotch rockets are try-hard bikes and with a bunch of little middle fingers. Typical squid energy.
Yeah, but, I mean, are you, like if you're squidding, you're probably on a crotch rocket, or are you just like one of those weird Dyna guys that's like sad that your Dyna got dusted up?
And they're like, no, bro, my Dyna's going to be better next week, bro. Fucking Dyna people.
We put them on blast.
We did. Now, this one is the same that we read earlier, right? It says, well, there, Yami, when it comes to CBR 500R, there's nothing wrong with the little extra weight and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So, similar tastes from you and the Discord boys here.
Biscotti Boy 620. Good choice.
Good choice and comment there. And we've already roasted this guy live, so we're not going to do him dirty again. All right. Callie here, the comment says, Spite, you should really start an OnlyFans page with those golden locks. That had to be, I think, on the Busa video where we unleashed the Fabio.
It must have been, yeah. That was a very interesting filming day.
There's been a lot this year. A lot of interesting film days. I think Derek, our videographer, is at this point being like, what the did I sign up for?
Especially today.
Yeah, today's video shoot was crazy. You guys will see what we shot later this week. Maybe we can, if you ever decide to cut your hair, we can snip a few of them, bottle them up, and sell them. I'm sure it'll sell for something.
Oh, that's gross. Okay, next up we have... it just doesn't do the thing. There it goes.
I love this comment. I actually saw it when it popped up. It says, screw Yami's tip of the bell curve comment. I'm the left side of the bell curve, and I'm willing to fight a giraffe over it. Hilarious. Honestly, really good. I wish we had more of this stuff and less of the old angry people, because I don't like those.
I love how he's fighting for the left side of the bell curve.
Yeah. Just dumb energy, Yeah.
It's just self-awareness at its finest.
I love it. I love it.
This one's coming off the Discord, it looks? No, this is def from YouTube.
I think it's just a dark theme on YouTube. It says, I completely disagree with your number one pick. I like all the Kawasaki 650s. Really? Do you really like them? You like, look in your heart of hearts. Do you really? You don't.
No.
You don't. There's no way.
Nobody likes them.
Nobody likes them. Everyone just puts up with them.
I think even the Versus people. We got to ask if Ari actually likes his.
I think he also just, I asked him, I was like, do you honestly like it? And he just likes it for what it does.
It's just
and that's
motorcycle.
It. Yeah, just motorcycle. That's it. He's a very practical guy, like he appreciates the practicality. I I just think that you don't understand cruisers. The Dyna Look is the best looking bike ever made. Highly debatable. That's why they sell so well. I was actually a bit anti-Harley when first getting into motorcycles, but I get them now. They're loud, sexy, and women like them. Oh boy. They're actually, tell me you're a virgin without telling me you're a virgin. They're actually comfortable behind them. I've had a few women tell me how much they like my bike and how they want to go for a ride. Sure, yeah. And then at the end of it and everyone clapped and I started everybody at the end. So it's a very believable story.
Yeah.
No, dude. No, buddy. No. I'll tell you the bikes that women like. They like Vespas. They like Trail 125s. They like friendly looking little bikes. I know this because I pull my fiance for every single bike we have. She likes the cute little round bikes. Mm-hmm. Like I showed her that Honda Dax 125 and she was like, oh my God, can we please get one? I was like, there it is. I was like, you don't get excited. I show you Ducatis, Turbo Busas. Doesn't matter. The little Dax, they love it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like Dynas. You. Like, come on, dude. Don't give me that bullshit. I've been around the block too much.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Here we go.
Oh, here we go. Full Metal Corgi. Are Yammy's pants so tight he has to empty his pockets to sit down? I don't think so. My pockets should have stuff in them right now. Another comment says, I understand the Turbo Hayabusas and built H2s are insane, but there are definitely cars out there that could whip up on those bikes, even on the street, not just a drag strip. You should find someone with a Calvo Viper or something like that and race it with the Busa. I think you've spent too much time on YouTube because whatever car you're thinking of is not a normal car that's going to beat up on the Busa. You're going to need to bring some like crazy street racer 1600 horsepower car to even touch the Busa.
And it's just going to rip the rear tire off the ground. The Busa will just stomp it.
Yeah. Another comment says, I would like to see how the Turbo Busa holds up to the 1700cc VMAX. It doesn't? What do you mean holds up to the VMAX is going to get obliterated?
Yeah.
Again, people don't understand the Turbo Busa. They don't get how fast it is.
It is ridiculously fast, guys. It's next level fast.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what we got next here.
Okay, James gives a comment here. His comment says, not sure why you rate the engine so bad. It's a ... I've loads of experience with big CC motors and the CP2 motor you mentioned. Owned a T7 also. It's only marginally slower than the CP2, not quite as quick off the mark, doesn't have the last 2K rip at the end, but just fat and linear. Is that a new word? Is he
and linear?
And linear? Is he trying to say like unlinear or non-linear? And linear. And linear delivery, bang in the middle where most normal people ride, will pull near enough 100 mile per hour in fourth gear. It's just a different delivery, but at the end of the day, it's just 4 horsepower short of the CP2 motor, and there really isn't a lot in it. And at the end of the day, you can blow your brains out for 20 miles on a 130 horsepower bike in Hillbilly GP, and you'll gain just enough time to get off and order me a coffee. Was this for like a Versus 650 or something?
This has to have been on. It was 12 days when they pulled it, so it must have been on the Versus 650 video.
Must have been, yeah.
Why do people do this with the spaces?
Oh, I don't know. It's like they're trying to start a new sentence, but then they don't capitalize, and then they put the dots.
Also,
really weird.
The Versus is not 4 horsepower off the CP2. It's like 8 or 9.
I think it's 8 or 9, yeah. I think the Versus makes like 65, and the CP2 makes like 75.
Yeah.
And we've ridden both, and the CP2 is way stronger.
Way better.
Yeah.
Also, what the hell is this Hillbilly GP?
I think he's basically saying that if you go out and ride like on a twisty road on a big fast bike, you won't gain enough time or something like that.
All right. Next up, we've got this one here, which is this. We see this
same
one again.
We saw that one again about the 1%er on the BMW GS.
Excellent choice.
Single track. Excellent.
Moving on, we have
another one, the 7 try-hard motorcycle guy who got all upset.
Very excellent choice.
Excellent
You guys get it.
You guys are getting them right here.
Oh, boy.
All right, here we go. This guy says, That's the thing with the Royal Enfield Continental GT650. You can juice it and still be under the speed limit and nevertheless feeling you are having fun. It's a really practical machine. And then this person says, it's the box bike fun factor, flooring my box car with barely 60 horsepower, enough chassis twist to register for yoga classes is fun and low power. Crappy bikes are probably similar. Everything is most fun at its limit, and if the limit is at the speed limit, that's lovely. Then the guy says, I would disagree with the statement bike, but I get where you are coming from. He got upset. Yeah, the guy you responded to got upset. He's like, yeah, man, I totally know what you're talking about. I love beating on ultra crappy cars and bikes. He's like, hey, it's not ultra
Take it easy.
Hey, relax, okay? That's not what we're saying. That's actually really funny. Flooring a car with 60 horsepower.
That sounds horrible.
That sounds like it won't move.
Yeah.
A bike with 60 horsepower is like, oh, this is pretty good, you know? A car with, I didn't even know what car has 60 horsepower?
Geo Metro?
Yeah, like a little 3-cylinder Geo Metro or something. I don't know if that's fun.
I just love how this guy was like, no.
He's like, you and I are not the same.
Yeah.
You're some other kind of degenerate. That's great.
All right, here we go for these two.
Here we go. This guy says, swing your bony leg over a ZX14 one time and you'll understand. You know what? Of all the insults I get, bony leg really is not one of them. My thighs are pretty meaty, honestly, for my size as a cyclist. And then this guy says, you need to ride my 05 Dyna Super Glide, LOL, but for real, I love it. It's not fast, but super clean. I think he's just part of the meme there of saying that I need to go ride their Dyna. Yeah, again, the ZX14 people, so butthurt.
So butthurt.
And we were talking about this where we're trying to form some unified Kawasaki simp theory.
Yeah.
Where, like, it's all about the fact that there's some other bike that's better than the bike that they own.
Yeah.
ZX14, Busa. ZX6,
R6.
Versus 650.
It's any
other sport touring bike, any Yamaha. KLR 650, Tenere 700. I know you don't agree as much as a KLR guy, but I think it is still true. I don't know what it is with you Kawasaki people, man. I don't know. You got such a bone to pick.
They just couldn't afford the Yamaha.
It is. ZX14, there's no myth around it. There's no legend around it, like the Hayabusa. And like you tell people, like, oh, I ride a Kawasaki ZX14 versus I ride a Suzuki Hayabusa. They're like, I know what a Hayabusa is.
Yeah, the ZX14, they're just like, oh, so it's a crotch rocket?
Yeah, crotch rocket. Yeah.
Okay.
It says, Yami, Japanese bikes are absolutely the worst. Why would you waste money on that? I don't know if I've ever said that. Also, Yami, when a Japanese bike is a giveaway bike, wow, this thing is amazing. You really have to experience it for yourself.
A lot of clever spellings of experience today.
Yes.
Have I ever said
that Japanese bikes are the absolute worst, and why would you waste money on that? I don't think I've ever said even anything close to that.
Not generally about, like, certain Japanese bikes. Sure, they're absolute dog
for sure.
But you can't generalize that. We love the Japanese bikes.
There's so many Japanese bikes I love. I own several Japanese bikes.
We literally have the ZX6 in here, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Yeah. Silly. We got one more comment, perhaps?
I think we've got one more. This is the last one.
That was the last one.
Jesus.
Oh, no, we
Christ.
do. Well, right at the end. Okay. Oh, no, we already read that one. It's the nerd one. So we picked another one. That's a good one, too. Yamaha Grunt, thank you for sending that one. We've already read it. So that's going to wrap up the YouTube comments over here. We've had a lot of fun reading them, and we've had a lot of fun doing this Yamcast, which, by the way, we did this one live over here. If you're watching this YouTube comments video all the way to the end, you can check out this segment on the Yamcast as well. And Fully unedited as well, yes. But thank you so much for tuning in, everyone, to the Yamcast. It's been a ton of fun. Remember, join on the YamiNoob.co website for the Discord server as well. Watch these live. Join in with us. Send us comments. Join on the memes. It's a ton of fun. You won't want to miss it. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. See you later. Well, look at you. You've made it to the end of another Yami Noob video. You should consider yourself pretty lucky because I have curated this one right over here for you to continue watching. It's probably just as good as the one you just saw. Unless you hated the one you just saw. I don't know, maybe leave me a comment down below about how much you hated it as well too. Or just keep watching this one. Make sure you keep watching Yami Noob. Don't forget to keep watching Yami Noob. That's the most important thing.
Keep watching, Amy Noob.